What's up guys, Gamer6226 here, back with my reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to NBA players that changed basketball forever. Let's get right into it.
There have been a lot of great and even legendary players throughout the history of the NBA, but few have actually been so impactful that they changed the game of basketball forever. Bill Russell. Bill Russell has to be in the GOAT conversation after winning 11 championships in just 13 years for the Boston
Yeah.
Celtics. He also became the first player to win the NCAA championship, the NBA Finals, and an Olympic gold medal, all within a span of 13 months. Bill Russell had such an impact on the game that the NBA Finals MVP award is named after him. He's considered one of the greatest defenders, but his legacy goes further than just his in-game heroics. But he became the first African American to become a head coach in a professional level sport. With him being popular in the 60s when racism was common, Bill Russell wasn't scared to put in his 2 cents and give public remarks to fight racism. He was fighting racism unlike many others. So, when he wasn't dominating the court, he was trying to make a difference in society and became a civil rights hero in people's eyes. Duo of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. It all started in 1978 when Larry Bird of Indiana State played against Magic Johnson from Michigan State in the NCAA championship. Magic was victorious, and the biggest rivalry in NBA history started to brew. College basketball ratings were higher than ever, but the NBA was crumbling, and the NBA was troubled in the 70s because many believed that the league had become too black of a league. It discouraged white fans from coming to the games and following the sport. So, the result was everyone thought the league was on its deathbed.
It's messed up back then, bro. People not going to games because it was too black of a league. That's crazy.
And the NBA needed a savior. Larry Bird was drafted by the Boston Celtics in 1978. He was considered the great white hope, and he didn't disappoint either. He not only had an insane amount of talent, but he had a lot of fight in him.
Yeah.
And when Magic Johnson was drafted number 1 by the Lakers, he was considered the Prince of the City. Larry Bird won the Rookie of the Year award against Magic, and it wasn't even close. After the 1981 season, the NBA came up with a brilliant plan to revive the league by portraying them as arch rivals, and it worked. It was the outspoken African American versus the shy white guy, and the rivalry was refired the next season in the finals, where they versed each other, but Bird was the champion this time. But that wasn't just the beginning of the rivalry that lasted over a decade. TV ratings blew up, and the two attracted huge crowds. The two rivals did commercials together and became celebrities in their own right, and they single-handedly saved the NBA and made the once almost dead league go from the bottom all the way to the top as the biggest professional league in sports. Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson is considered one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, and he's the shortest player in NBA history to average 20 points standing at 6 feet or shorter. And he's also the shortest player to ever win the Most Valuable Player award. Allen Iverson inspires shorter players to play aggressive and not be scared to go baseline or into the paint to score on someone that's way bigger than him. Iverson also changed the way not only point guards played the game, but any player that was good enough to dribble and that needed to create space for the defender and score. Iverson popularized and changed the crossover move and became one of the greatest dribblers in the NBA. And it all started when he crossed over the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan. The rookie Allen Iverson crossed over Michael Jordan, who was in the face of the NBA, and since then he was a sensation and an all-star in everyone's eyes. That's why they changed the crossover to the Allen Iverson crossover. Younger players idolized Iverson's style on and off the court. Iverson changed the culture of the NBA. Iverson merged sports and entertainment after ushering in hip-hop. Iverson brought a new style to the NBA with cornrows, tattoos, arm sleeves, and the flashy jewelry, and he made it acceptable. A lot of the players in the NBA that looked up to Iverson growing up idolized him and wanted to be like him in any way they could. And the NBA All-Star point guard Chris Paul talked about AI in an interview. He said, "I've always said Allen Iverson had the biggest effect on the culture of the NBA out of any player. He started the culture. He started the arm sleeve, the tattoos, all that stuff. He's the biggest influence in the NBA out of anybody. I wanted braids because AI had them. I just love the gift that he played with. He always played with a chip on his shoulder. I feel like I sort of do the same." Allen Iverson had such an impact on the style of the game that in 2005, the NBA became the first professional league to have a dress code, and the new rule was often said to be the AI rule. All players had to wear business casual attire before and after the game. And Iverson said, Just because you put a guy in a tuxedo doesn't make him a good guy. Allen Iverson also came into the
That's
league
true.
with a bad boy image because he grew up in some of the hardest places in America with no money. And he's also known for one of the greatest and most entertaining post-game press conferences of all time, where he said the famous quote of, practice? We're sitting here. I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we ain't here talking about practice. Michael Jordan. Michael
Yeah.
Jeffrey Jordan is
Yeah, to
considered
be
the
on this
GOAT
list.
to most people, being a 6-time NBA champion, 6-time Finals MVP,
He ain't the
and
GOAT, though.
5-time NBA MVP. But him changing the league doesn't have anything to do with his insane amount of awards, but the fact that he made the game of basketball popular around the world. The explosion of the sport of basketball in the 80s and 90s, and not only in the city of Chicago, where indoor soccer leagues had more fans than the Chicago Bulls, but he made it popular globally. He was more than just a genius when it came to the game of basketball. He was a brilliant businessman, and with his brand Air Jordan, he was able to make basketball apparel popular in everyday life. His shoes are the most purchased shoes in the world and are a necessity on the court, and people still buy his Bulls jersey and a pair of shoes, even if they hadn't stepped foot on the basketball court in their life. Jordan empowered younger players to make millions and other things in return for what they can do on a basketball court. Jordan was in TV commercials, movies, he was at fashion exhibits, and he was loved by millions around the world. Jordan even had a 40-foot mural in Barcelona with his picture on it. And
It's crazy.
he has a Michael Jordan statue outside of the Chicago Bulls arena, which will make his legacy live on forever. Michael Jordan was dunking from the free throw line or scoring on the whole team, which is why he was your favorite player. Michael Jordan's legacy in business and marketing will go on longer than what he did on the court. And what he did on the court is crazy enough to make him the greatest of all time. Many NBA superstars reflected on what Jordan did for the game of basketball. But future Hall of Famer Dwayne Wade said, every kid that wanted to play basketball that could play, that couldn't play. You tried to emulate Michael Jordan. That's why there will never be another one of him. He's the first of his kind. Everything he did was groundbreaking. He did it with so much flair and so much pizzazz that even today people are still trying to be like Mike. One of the most important players to talk about is legend Kobe Bryant, who was looked at as taking Jordan's moves and playing just like him. And he said, the imprint he's had on the league, he's an immortal. Everything that he's done, from the business aspect to his professionalism to his work ethic to the global appeal of the game, has been something that carries on for generations and generations. Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter the game of basketball has ever seen, and he even changed the way the NBA is played when he made it a three-point driven league. In the 2008-2009 NBA season, the most threes attempted in the game was 28, but the Golden State Warriors were attempting at least 30 per game. With Steph Curry and the Warriors being able to knock down three-pointers as consistently as they do, they made opponents change their play style and shoot threes with them, just so they could stand a chance. With Curry being so short, he wasn't even a highly recruited player coming out of college, but the 6'3" sharpshooter that can shoot from half court or do a jelly layup in the paint single-handedly changed the way the NBA is played. In the 2016-2017 season, Steph Curry broke his own record of three-pointers made in a season with an insane number of 402. Curry is causing players to pull up from the three in transition instead of taking it to the rack. And he's making young kids that idolize him want to be just like him. So they're practicing their three-point shot day in and day out. No one wants to learn the skyhook anymore. Everyone wants to make threes. Sure, dunking will always be cool in the game of basketball, but Curry single-handedly took away the mid-range shot, which is considered the bread and butter shot. Hall of Famer Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was talking about Curry, and he said, I've got a lot of respect for Kevin Durant, but Stephen Curry, Stephen is changing the game. Draymond Green. Draymond Green has been part of the Golden State Warriors since he was drafted, and he's been through all the
Why is Draymond Green on this list?
Trades, and hard times. But with him being a part of one of the greatest teams of all time that beat the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls regular season record in 2015-2016, Draymond believes he changed the NBA. During an interview on Showtime basketball podcast, All the Smoke, Draymond opened up about his journey in the NBA from the time he was drafted in 2012 until now. And he said, I couldn't have dreamt this in my wildest dreams. Making it to the NBA was just like a far-fetched dream. But Draymond's biggest accomplishment in the NBA is that he changed the NBA, and during the interview he said, honestly, in my opinion, I think I changed the game of basketball
How?
with the help of Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry changed the game of basketball with the help of me. I think it was a match made in heaven. And then all of a sudden, Klay Thompson coming in, becoming the top 2 shooters in the world, and us three effing changed the game of basketball forever. Some
Draymond, you
people would
didn't
agree
do
that the trio
shit.
is legendary,
Would you
but
shut
Hall of
up?
Famer Charles Barkley thinks that Draymond had very little to do with the trio's success.
Exactly.
When he said, he's the worst member of the boy band who doesn't realize he's standing next to Timberlake.
Exactly.
When the girls are throwing panties at his head, he's gonna get hit by some drive-by panties, but they're really meant for Timberlake. Draymond Green came back at Charles Barkley, and he said that he's jealous of Green's success, and Draymond said, he scored
Okay.
more points than me. Alright, cool. But that doesn't necessarily mean you had more impact on the game than
He
me.
did.
So there you have it. So if you want to change the game forever, hit that subscribe button.
Bro, don't tell me you actually believe that Draymond deserves to be on this list. That better have been a joke. If that was a joke, I don't know what to say, but peace, guys.